Peace. This is King Noble Black Supremacy. And tonight I want to go in, but I want to start off wishing you a happy Black Supremacy month, happy Black Supremacy year, and happy Black Supremacy century and millennia. So I want to combine all of them tonight. I want to wish you a happy Black Supremacy month. And it's very important to not see our history as history, but to see the greatness of our history in the present moment, to see our ancient greatness as the greatness of who we are. So it's Black Greatness Present Month, to be honest with you, because we're going to be present who and what we are divinely, to our divine nature, and to the divinity of who we are. So it's not just a thing of the past. It's not history. It's present. Our ancestors have been buried within inside of our DNA, and they're being resurrected as who we are right now. And it's something that we should be happy about. It's something we should be celebrating. And that is what awakening to it really is. It's a celebratory engagement. So I wish everybody a happy Black Supremacy month and year 2021 and century and millennium and bicentennial or whatever. So thank you all for calling in tonight. We're going to go in tonight. But first I want to talk about something that I saw going on with the T.I. situation in Atlanta. The T.I. and Tiny situation. I thought I would talk about that because it's interesting. We know who Tiny and T.I. is. We definitely know who T.I. is. So we won't allow the bloggers, we won't allow the media to tell us who T.I. is. And what we've seen from T.I. is someone who has been an activist for Black Lives Matter. We've seen someone who has stood up to Donald Trump and his whole Make America Great Again, who stood up against his racism, who stood up against white supremacy. T.I. has done this. We're very clear on that. We're very clear on how T.I. has supported and uplifted his community and has been a spokesperson against the wrongs and the injustices against Black people. We are very clear on that when it comes to T.I. We also are clear that 6 or 7 months ago that T.I. was asking for reparations for Black people using his platform, using his fame, and using his influence to push for reparations for Black people. So I find it not even coincidental that he is under fire and under attack right now. They are attacking your Black leaders and Black representatives at any chance you get. And some would say our entertainers are not our leaders, and I would agree with that. I would say all of our entertainers are not our leaders, but that entertainers can step into leadership in relevant issues and stand up for the freedom and liberation for Black people. That can happen. Being an entertainer does not take you off the table of being a leader, but we do realize a lot of our so-called entertainers are handpicked by the enemy to represent his agenda when it comes to Black people and the Black community. So I would say maybe T.I. all the time has not been a hardcore on every single issue and has not necessarily taken a specific position that us that are more militant would want him to take on that issue. But he has stood up in many ways that cannot be discounted, that are very relevant. So I want to say that we know who T.I. is. We're not distracted by the media defamation of his character or the assassination of his character through a narrative that is being concocted about what is happening with his party life, with his underground life, with his secular life in Atlanta. That now you can pull from that to create a negative narrative to tear down the positive aspirations and the positive energy that he represents, that can now be torn down before the people. We will not allow that to happen, and we will not get distracted. Because if that's the case, anybody's could be torn down because of any secular lifestyle or things that they're doing in the secular world. They could be torn down whenever somebody feels like it. Whenever somebody says in their perspective that he's not doing the holiest of holiest or living in the most sanctified or sanctimonious way, that this is going to discredit his relevance and his significance and the positive contributions that he has made to the black community as a whole. And that's completely unrealistic to do that. And, many of us will not go for that. Like Bob Marley said, you can fool some of the people sometime, but you can't fool all the people all the time. So just because you want to go and say he has a very after dark life, that's going to take away from the profound impact that he has caused in the light. So, that's what I want to say on that. So we know that they are attempting to defame and assassinate his character and to tear him down and to make him nullify his power and his influence and his effect that he have over the freedom and justice and liberation for black people. And as he is a positive contributor to his very own community. So just watch the enemy closely. Watch the enemy closely and see what he is doing, see when he is doing it, and see why he is doing it. A lot of times the people that are tearing him down, and I want to be clear on this, it's not all just white supremacists and the white supremacy that's tearing him down. They're the ones who capitalize off of him being torn down. They're the ones who benefit. But a lot of times people are tearing him down because of jealousy. The people within his own circle, the people that he was associated with, they are jealous or intimidated by the amount of power and influence and wealth that he has achieved. And, they can't stomach or don't want to see a Negro with that type of power, that type of influence. They cannot tolerate black power. We talk about Black History Month and people wanting black power, but it's hard to stomach black power by our very own community. We can't stomach a black man who's attained actual power. So he has to be torn down by those people, because we often forget that too much is given, much is expected. We think that the power and the wealth and influence that people got is just for them to contest or to compete with us or to show how they are better than us, or for them to look better than us or higher than us or more exalted than us. And we don't realize that what they've been given is given to them by the ancestors, because they have something to do. They have a work that they're supposed to be doing, that they have been blessed and chosen by the ancestors to do something particular for the black race and for the black community. So they're given wealth. They're given influence. They're given power. They're given wisdom. They're giving everything that they need to do what they've actually been put here to do. Now, all of them may not do exactly what they're supposed to do and do exactly why the ancestors put them here. All of them might not do that. But that's why it's given to them to be better than you, and for you to feel lesser because of your status and your wealth and your fame and your importance and your significance. Is not given to them for you to feel lesser than them or for them to appear in a human way better than you. It's given to them for what they are supposed to do with. And we sometimes have to get out the way to let them do what they are supposed to do with it. That's for the benefit of the whole. And it's really on them if they do it. It's not on us to be the judge of whether they do it or not. The ancestors is giving it to them for a reason. To do right with it, to do revolution with it, to liberate black people with it, to stand up for the black race with it. The ancestors is allowing them to do everything that they are doing. and blessing them and putting them in that position as a test to see, are you going to do the right thing? Are you going to be about your ego? Are you going to be about this material matrix Babylon world? Or are you going to do what's right for the black people and for the black nation? That's why they're giving all that they're giving. That's why they have all the power and all the gates open up and all the circumstance seems to working in their favor, and they get out of this and that situation. It's the ancestors trying them, testing them to see, hey, are you going to do what we sent you here to do? Are you going to remember? Look at Kodak Black. You know, seemed that he was pardoned by Donald Trump. You know, he wasn't pardoned by Donald Trump. He was pardoned by the ancestors, given another chance to get out and use his wealth and use his fame, use his influence, use his charisma, use his magnetism, use his talents, use his gifts to help his community, to help the black nation. He's given a second chance. They opened up hell and let him out. Now they watching to see what he going to do with it. Is he going to be arrogant? You know, is he going to be vain? Or is he going to selflessly step into the divine position that the ancestors has granted him to do what he's supposed to do? That's the real question. And like I said, it's not for us to judge. It's what is he going to do with it? And with ourselves, it's for us to look at ourselves and see with what we're doing, with who we are. See, the ancestral morality, the ancestral integrity is different from the integrity of your religions that you have been taught. When you deal with the integrity of the ancestral world, it's individual. You're judged by what's given to you. You judge by the position that you're in. You're not judged by how you judge others. You're not judged by what you think about others or how you compare yourself to others. You are judged by what is given to you and what you do with what they gave you to manifest and implement black rulership and black divinity on this earth. You are judged by that on a personal level. And a lot of times we're overly distracted, you know, by what other people are doing and how we quantify and qualify the actions and behaviors of others. But it's not like that because we don't know what the ancestors gave them or what struggle they had to go through or how they're being specifically tested to be representative of what the ancestral will want to do. We don't know that. We really can't really judge them in that way. But what we can do is make sure with everything that we're doing, we're focused on that and that we don't forget and that we stay mindful of what our role is and what our purpose is. So that's what I want to say about the T.I. thing. This whole jealousy thing and being intimidated by a black man with power and, you know, that's what I'm seeing with the T.I. thing. It's like thinking he got too much and they need to get some of it and they need to take him to court and they need to bring him to prove a nigga ain't shit. You got to realize that he's somebody not for how we think about him. He's somebody to those who have granted that to him. He's somebody to those who have granted him the favor to be who he is. You see a lot of these individuals, and they done made it through some stuff. You got Snoop Dogg that didn't come up off of death row. You know, murder was the case that they gave him, and he became somebody. He slipped up outside of these white supremacists, entrapments, and traps. And you see T.I., who had federal cases and was going through stuff, but came up out of it. See, they're favored by something that's greater than white supremacy and greater than the limited contextual reality that man has about them. Their mission and purpose is greater than that, and it's even more important for them to realize that mission and purpose than it is to even contest with whatever the popular perspective or narrative is about them. They need to stay focused, you know, on what they're supposed to do as it relates to the liberation struggle of black people, because, you know, real recognize real, and real know who real is. You know, the fool's going to believe whatever you tell them. The sheep are going to go along with whatever's put out for them. Whatever they tell the sheep to do, they're going to do that. So we don't even have to worry about them. We don't even have to get distracted by what they think about us or them. We need to focus on what we came on earth to do and stay vigilant and stay resilient and stay focused in doing that. That's the T.I. thing that I want to talk about. We know who T.I. is. and we have nothing but respect for him. And there's always full narratives that can be applied to anything. I mean, you can take somebody's party life and put that before the public, and you can demonize them right away. We're clear on that. That could be done with anybody. I mean, you had Trump who hung out with Epstein, but that didn't mean anything to anybody. Okay? He hung out with Jeffrey Epstein and partied with him. You know, he hung out with, the original illegal human trafficker. What's his name? With the Playboy bunny, Hugh Hefner. You know, but no one cared. You know, that's different. He's making America great again. Well, T.I. was making the black community great again. You know, he was making Atlanta great again. So I don't really care about how you want to take some negative narrative about him, and because you control media, because you blog and you make money off the demonization of the black man on the internet, that now you're going to twist and spin his party life that is consensual adults that are participating, that if he wasn't doing all these things, he wouldn't be about that life. He wouldn't be respected as the G that he really is if he wasn't. If he didn't do what he did, if he wasn't involved in the things that he was involved in, they would just see him as a square anyway, and he would be nothing. So these same people who are claiming to be victims, you know, glorified the lifestyle, glorified the culture that he was representing. They glorified that, and it's all in the music, you know, the drugs and all this. And the sex is all in the music. So if you listen to that and you support that, you glorify that, you're a part of that. So then you can't come and be a victim of it later because you think you can capitalize, you know, off being a victim. See, that's the thing about America. It preaches success. And I used to wonder this. Y'all got to hear me out. I used to wonder this, why, you know, we talk about success and somebody, you know, open up a business and they do something positive, and you know what I'm saying, they get celebrated. Like, this person, you know, did something successful when they opened up a business, or they did this. And even dealing with Black History Month, where they talk about, you know, the black man invented this, and these black people were great, you know, because they did this. I used to always look at that and say, you know, why are we putting so much emphasis on that this one individual did something great? You know, we're all great. You know, what's so great that this person opened up a business versus that person? And why are we celebrating greatness that is inevitable and unavoidable and inescapable? Why are we celebrating our inescapable greatness? But now I realize it. Because if we don't celebrate the greatness, we will continue to let individuals constantly capitalize off victim consciousness, where this society has more for you if you can be some kind of a victim. It's gonna give you something if you can fit in some type of victim narrative. And while you may be coming up because you are existing within the victim narrative, you're not doing nothing for the people. Okay, you're not doing nothing for black people as a whole. You're not showing black people nothing. When somebody does something, you know, that's great and looked at as great in the eyes of others, and you know, they're celebrated for it. They're celebrated because they said, you know what, this person, you know, could have been a victim. Listen to me. This person could have been a victim and have some kind of victim narrative and let that hold them back and want something because they're a victim and get caught up into that consciousness. And that's what they're spreading. That's what they're giving their energy to. But they said, no, this energy, in spite of the multiple victim narratives that this individual could have capitalized off of, whether they're adopted, whether they grew up in a single-parent home, whether their parents was on drugs, whether their parents was prostituting, no matter whatever victim narrative that they could have had, they said, no. This is my legacy. I'm going to do this. I built this. I established this. I created this. I'm the first black that did this. I did this in spite of this. This is what I did. I chose not to capitalize off the victim narrative, because in one breath we talk about how we want to achieve something as a people, and that we have black pride and black history, and we want to be something as individuals within this country, within this world. But at the same time, we are the ones that constantly capitalize on victim consciousness within our community. We have so many different, charities and so many different support groups and help groups and so many different institutions that profit and spread and benefit and out of victim consciousness. So while we are fighting the white man over here saying, we are somebody and we can have our own, we need our own sovereignty, our own independence, our own nation, we need to be respected as a people, and then over here we're talking about, but I'm a victim. And this is why I need to be benefited, and this is what I need to get because I'm a victim. Have to make up your mind. So now understand when we celebrate people, because everybody, and y'all got to hear me with this, everybody in their own right is a victim of something. Even the people that you think is successful, the people that you think that got something and got somewhere, the people that has rose above the negativity of situations, they too have a victim narrative and a victim story, but they did not let that define them, and they didn't give enough attention to being victim to attract that to be the main narrative of their life, and they overcame, and they used the energy and their consciousness and their will to manifest something in their life based upon their own free thought, based upon their own volition, based upon their own will. They triumphed over every narrative that could be applied, over every narrative that could be pimped and milked in order to try to gain something that is less than the greatness that you really possess as an individual. They triumphed over every one of those narratives in order to pull off whatever it is that they was trying to do. Because one who embraces victim consciousness victimizes the whole black community, and one who triumphs as and for the whole black community. And that's why when I always mention Dr. Sebi, he talks about, he said, I'm not just curing AIDS. The whole black community is curing AIDS if I'm curing it. I was like, that's deep. So versus him being a victim of all the sicknesses within our community and using all those sicknesses as an excuse, he became a healer and represented the power and the potential for the black community to heal its own self and thus heal the world. Self-healing embodied. That's the segment I want to go into. I just want to touch on that just a little bit. People are celebrated because, hey, you didn't go for the victim consciousness reward that this society has for you. If I go out my door and say, you know what, hey, everybody, I'm a black supremacist, they're going to say, nigga, please. What's wrong with you? You're a racist. You ain't supreme at nothing. Look at the state of the black community. Look at you. You ain't supreme at nothing. But if I go out and say I'm a victim, they're going to be like, yes, you a victim. Here you go. Who victimized you? What you a victim of? Oh, really? Oh, here you go. Oh, I'm so sorry. Oh, blah, blah, blah. We will never rise as a people as we continue to pimp victim consciousness as individuals, within our relationships, within our communities. That does not mean that we do not strategically and progressively address the obstacles and challenges in our community where they exist. But we must stop making victim consciousness our identity. We must stop doing that, because in doing that, we bring down our own community. That means my rise must deal with the fall of somebody else. And they always tell you this, that, hurt people. Thinking that means, hurt people, they was hurt and they go out and hurt somebody else. It also means that if you continue going on existing as the person that's hurt, now you got to hurt the person that hurt you and keep the hurt perpetuated. Because when you triumph over your pain and suffering, you also triumph over and triumph for those who have created pain and suffering for you. You also triumph over that simultaneously. You don't see that part. But for us to constantly pimp our pain and our suffering and our victim consciousness of one another, for us to constantly pimp that, we continue to bring down those who so-called hurt and victimized us, which is thus continuing to bring down ourselves. Now we lost two people. We lost them and you and generations to come. But when you rise above it, this is what they don't tell you. You rise above it for everyone. The generational curse is cured at you. When you rise above it, you rise above it for everyone. You're an exemplification and the embodiment and a manifestation of rising above pain and suffering. For everyone, past and those to come in the future. But if you continue to be a victim, you maintain the narrative for the victimizers and those who will be future victims of your propagation and maintenance of a victim consciousness. I hope y'all hear me tonight. So when I see the TIC situation, I see people easily willing to pimp victim consciousness narratives for what they can gain in this society. Please be clear on that. That this society, people pimp being a victim. The whole R. Kelly shit was about people pimping being a victim. They pimped it. They did reality shows, Surviving R. Kelly, fucking Surviving T.I., Surviving this. They pimped being a victim. That's why we celebrate those who achieve victories. Because if you pimp being a victim, that's your identity now. That's who you are. But when I think of, our ancient black people of greatness dealing with us being in Black History Month right now, when I see Mansa Musa, I think of Mansa Musa. I don't think of a victim. When I think of Noble Drew Ali, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, when I think of Shaka Zulu, I don't think of victims. But now the only legacy that most people have to offer or have to have earned in this society is a fucking victim. That's the legacy that they're leaving. When I think of Harriet Tubman, I don't think of a victim. I think of somebody who freed the slaves. But when we think of people now, the identity of black people is somehow a victim. That is their identity. And not even when it comes to white supremacy. When it comes to white supremacy, they don't see themselves really as victims. They won't entertain that for too long. Because if they did, they would understand one of the main reasons that you may be a victim of black people is because of overall how white supremacy has been set up in society. It's an entrapment. We're entrapped to be against one another. We are entrapped to harm one another. It's an entrapment. But we don't say, all this is because we were a victim of white supremacy. We don't talk about that. That's too deep. That's too complex. But I'm mad at this nigga. I got a problem with what this nigga did and who this nigga is and who this nigga think he is. And that's easy. But when it comes to white supremacy, that's just the way it is. It's how society is. That's just the way it goes. That's how things are. Make something out yourself. Do something with it. When it comes to black people, fuck it, me too. I survived this nigga. Nobody survived in white supremacy. Nobody surviving the COINTELPRO. Nobody surviving the FBI. Nobody surviving police brutality. Nobody surviving the prison to pipeline. They're not surviving that. That's just the way. That's just the way it is. When it comes to a black person, one black individual, they're the arch devil, the arch evil. One black person can be the arch evil, could be Satan himself. Isolated from dealing with the context of how white supremacy has affected our entire cultural and social paradigm and the way that we perceive one another. That's not even important. Moving on from that. I don't buy the shit with T.I. He's being attacked. He's getting too powerful, too influential. Asking for reparations, climbing the ladder to power. Some people have a problem. Some people's going to capitalize off the people who's trying to capitalize off being victims of him and take whatever party narrative that they had going on and expose that to a Christian fundamentalist-based society who are all hypocrites, to make him look like the arch evil